Today's video is all about feeling young at 60. And I say 60 because on Sunday I had a birthday and I turned 60. But these thoughts apply whether you're 45 or 75 or even past 80 years old. So let's get right into it. So the first suggestion is to think of yourself as being younger than you are. In the latter half of my dad's life, as he got older, each birthday he would consistently decrease his numerical age instead of increasing it like most people do. And I can remember there were times in his late 70s when he was in the hospital for whatever reason, and a doctor or a nurse would ask him how old he was, and he would consistently tell them the younger year, and he would do this without batting an eye. And this is all while he's also telling them that he feels fantastic. And as a result, I always thought to myself, it's no wonder that they would look over at me when they asked him what prescription medications he was on, and he would tell them that he's not on any, which actually was true. My dad did a great job of taking care of his health. But yeah, he really thought himself young in a way. So I'm sure that you've heard of the saying, you're only as old as you feel. Well, if you keep telling your brain that you are getting older and you're falling apart, then it's a pretty good likelihood that you probably are. Have you ever noticed that your body actually feels different when your mindset is like all mentally psyched up with a positive attitude, you're telling yourself you're feeling good, as compared to when you tell yourself, I just don't have any energy today. And what you say can become a habit like that. It can become a habit to feel like you don't have any energy. And when you say that all the time, your body starts to remember and feel that. I mean, it's really important, the words you choose to put in your head, because they can impact your physical health. Pay attention to that and see if you notice that too. I think it's really wise to believe that it's possible to age slowly, and that it's possible that you are getting healthier no matter what your health status is today. I think that's a really positive way of thinking about things, and it certainly can't hurt regardless. So the second thing is to slow down your pace, but not so much that you can't still move really fast when you need to. A few years ago, I noticed that my knees would hurt whenever I just kind of tried to sprint out of the rain, maybe to go, get out of the grocery store, and that my knees were complaining when I'd be going up and down the stairs at my house. To be perfectly honest, there were two incidents in my life that I felt sure had just shot my knees completely because of what I was doing. The first time was when my daughter decided that she was going to have her friends and her run a half marathon in Chicago for her bachelorette party, and this was many years ago. And I decided that it would help me get into shape if I joined in on the fun. Well, I didn't train very well, and folks, this was one of the most humbling experiences of my life. When I limped over the finish line and I looked back, they were starting to remove the barriers. I had so many strangers that had been cheering me on there at the end, and I didn't know why. Well, it was just because I was coming in dead last and they were trying to cheer me on to the end. So I don't know, this would be a great story if I turned it around and I said that I did great in a full marathon the next year. But the truth is, I really just didn't like running, and so I just don't. Anyway, my knees were weak and they hurt for weeks afterwards. And then a few years later, I was hosting a wellness retreat in Peru, and I decided that I needed to hike up the mountain that looks down over Machu Picchu. And it started off great. I was all excited about doing this. And then, I don't know, maybe when we were about halfway up the mountain, I began to wonder why there hadn't been any signs posting a warning at the bottom explaining that this hike was literally a staircase of stones up the whole entire mountain. It was incredible. As we kept climbing upward, it honestly, after a while, became a bit scary because there were a good number of people that just weren't physically fit enough for this. Maybe me too, I don't know. And it was kind of scary because a couple people ahead of me stumbled a number of times, probably because their knees were getting weak. And there was no railing to keep you from falling over the side of this cliff edge that we were on. I mean, it was just like right on the edge of the mountain, at least for a good bit of the time. So I did stay back, but I did feel very fortunate when we were back down at the bottom. Anyway, I think my knees really did hate me after that particular trip. And for years, I really believed that these two things that I did were things that I did to damage my knees, and that there was really nothing that I could do about it, that I was just going to have to live with what I did. But it wasn't until I got a good personal trainer in the last few years and I started really strengthening the muscles in my legs that I realized that my knees weren't shot. I was just weak, and I didn't have the physical structure in my legs to hold my kneecaps into place properly. So the moral of this story is, don't just discount yourself and say that you can't run anymore or do certain things that you might want to do until you're sure that that you really can't do them. I mean, maybe you could be like me and you just really needed to build up those leg muscles a little bit. Hopefully, I'll still be able to say this in another 20 years. Anyway, well, I haven't taken up running again. From time to time, I will just run because I can, and because it feels so good to feel those muscles just working again. And to know that if I had to run someday, I actually could do it. So the next one is play. Now, if you have grandchildren, this is 100 times easier to do, and I am blessed to have 2 families of little ones. So this is one thing, honestly, that slow living has really helped me with. A few years ago, I did not have good boundaries around work, both physically as well as in my mind. So when I was with my grandchildren, that often held me back from being fully present with them and just letting go, having fun, just enjoying them and enjoying life at that moment. Well, this last time I went to visit my daughters, we rode bikes over to the pump track, and while it did push me a little outside my comfort zone a bit, because it had been many years since I did something like this, I did join them, along the track. And when I think about it, I know some of the times that make me feel the most warm and cozy and that true feeling of connection that you can get with my grandchildren is when we're giggling and rolling around on the floor, pretending to be dinosaurs or whatever else the topic of interest is at the time. Laughter is such good medicine. It truly is. And there's medical research to prove this. And play is just such a wonderful segue into laughter and feeling lighthearted. I mean, you're not worried about your bank account at that time or the results of that recent physical exam that you just did. When you are truly engaged in being eaten by your grandchild that is a T-Rex at that moment. So if you don't have grandchildren, that's okay too. I was thoroughly amused the first time that I saw Kurt hop on the back of a shopping cart to ride it out to the car at the grocery store. And, I thought, I used to do that, and I don't do that anymore. So occasionally now I will do it too. Or sometimes I'll skip just because I can, or see if I can still pull off the cartwheel that I cautioned you about at the beginning of this video. The 4th suggestion is to try something new regularly. If you listened to my video last week on balancing slow living with productivity, you know that I am going to give myself a challenge to have 60 adventures in this 60th year of my life. And I think probably my first one is going to be to take a solo retreat here soon. And while I'm reflecting on things that have gone on last year and beyond, I'll also be thinking forward and coming up with a list of ideas for myself as to what I could put on this 60 challenges list. Let me know if there's anything that you think would be a really good idea that I would like to put onto that list. Now maybe the solo retreat idea may not seem like much of a new adventure, but the truth is, while I have hosted retreats in the island of Corsica and on the Azores and in Peru, I don't think I have ever traveled by myself. And I definitely know I haven't carved out time for my own solo retreat. So I'm really looking forward to this. But there's really a lot of things that you can do to try something new. You can learn a new hobby, take dance lessons, maybe learn a new language, or simply try out a new recipe that feels kind of challenging to you. It's the novelty of these things that keeps the brain young and adaptable. Lastly, be open to embracing changes in your life. Now, I think routines are fantastic, and I strongly recommend them to all my coaching clients, but I also do recommend revisiting them from season to season and questioning if there are things you can do to make them better for you at this point in time for you. The other thing is to stay open to new technology, even if it seems a little overwhelming at first. I know when I first began editing videos using the software, it was not easy for me, and I felt like it was a big win for me just to like upload the clips and arrange them and then get them over to YouTube with barely doing anything with them. That was a big deal. But now, pretty much every week, I learn something new in the editing process. And I do think that this is one of the reasons that I really enjoy it as much as I do. I think if you have a mindset that you're open to embracing new technology, then you're probably not going to end up feeling at some point in your life like society is passing you by. So I do hope that you have found one or more of these suggestions helpful to you today. I'd love to know if you're going to try to put any of them in place in your own life now or more often. And it would be great too to share in our little growing community here any other things that you already do that you feel help you stay feeling younger. Sharing our thoughts and ideas in the comments about this would be fantastic too. I hope you will feel compelled to give the video a thumbs up, and then just a final reminder to share with anyone that you feel could really benefit from one or more of the thoughts and ideas that I've shared here today. In the description to the video, you will find some links to various resources that you may find helpful in your own journey to living a slower, more intentional life. And until next time, slow down, smile often, and just remember that you are amazing.